big ups to you for visiting all 63,
Thank you.
63 of the national parks. That right there is just
I'm just happy I did it before they added a 64th or 65th somewhere randomly in a, pick something random and say we're gonna make this a national park now. And I gotta go travel to that one. But thank you. Thank
okay. I mean, hey, what's one more? You already
you.
accomplished
No,
63 of
I'm
them.
done. Game over. No more.
No, never done. Never done. Hey, 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 everybody. We are back with another Photog Talk, and our guest today is none other than Corey, aka Flight Level.
That you know what? That makes me excited. I wasn't sure if you was gonna do the Angela dance like when we started this thing. So you gave me a little snippet right there. I can dig it.
Oh, you,
Yeah.
people don't, they ain't ready for that. They ain't
All
ready for
right.
that. Well, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's finally good to talk to you and get to see you and outside of the Instagram circles.
I
How are you?
know, right? I'm good. It
Yeah.
just adds such a different connection when it's not looking at the little person's picture or whatever,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Or in
pass
my
the
case,
time.
the little cartoon avatar. Yeah,
Right, exactly. So
yeah.
I want to thank you again for, being available to do this Photog Talk. And I want to just kind of jump into it because I know people are excited because like your stuff is just banging. I'd be like, I
Appreciate you.
want his flyer miles.
Before you before you jump into it, how long y'all been doing this?
The
This
group has been
talk
a
talk?
lot around, it'll be 5 years this year.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So,
All right.
and we came up with the idea of having the Photog Talk to give people an opportunity to get to meet us. We've been connected with, or schools have reached out to us, people that want to be mentored. So, and it helps, just like you and I were saying, when you're on Instagram, you see that, but there's a different connection when you're actually listening to someone who's talking passionately about photography and why they're into it.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, for sure. Yep. All
So,
right.
let's jump right into asking you, what got you into photography?
So most people that follow my account know that I was about trying to visit all the national parks. So I think sometime around maybe 20 parks in, I think I was starting to notice that the pictures that I was taking didn't look like the pictures that kind of made me want to go to some of them parks. you know? Um, so I actually, the way I actually bought a camera, I've been thinking about buying, I don't want to say a real camera because they say that any camera that you have is the best camera that you could possibly have, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was on the way to Badlands National Park
Okay.
and I landed in South Dakota and realized that I didn't have an iPhone charger. So I went to Walmart to get an iPhone charger and walked out with a Canon T5 Rebel. Yeah, most expensive charger I probably purchased before,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. So that was the start of the it's an entry level camera, but that's the start of like the professional or SLR camera, the real camera, so to speak. But if I really think back on it, I've been shooting for a while. I mean, 1990s Sony Mavic, I think that was one of the cameras that was out. Had one of
okay.
those, popped the floppy disk into it. Casio Elixir, the small little wallet size cameras. I've had one of those. Had another Kodak camera. So I've always had an interest in photography, but as far as getting outside of auto mode or anything like that, I never really got serious about that until 2016. And it was for the reason that I told you about. The iPhone pictures just wasn't cutting it for some of them national parks, you
So,
know?
so let's talk about this. You're going to visit a national park, Badlands.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
go to get a charger, walk out with a camera,
Mm-hmm.
totally different than from you using your iPhone. Now,
Slightly.
here you are in the national park with this camera. How
Mm-hmm.
did you figure out and like know what to capture or how to use it? A lot of people,
I did. That's the yeah. I didn't figure it out. So yeah. So you pick it up, and I mean, in any camera, if you go to auto mode, you take a shot. It may be good, it may be bad. So if I go back and look at that Badlands folder, there's some pictures that are good, and there's some pictures that we don't really need to talk about now.
okay, that's in the secret stash.
Yeah, that's just gonna stay in that little the little box that Martin was talking about in Bad Boys. Toss it into the ocean. Don't,
Okay.
yeah,
Now,
don't talk about my mama like that.
so where did you go from there? You had the Canon.
Yeah.
And you're now at
So
the national parks. And before we get to this question, I just have
mhm,
to just say big ups to you for visiting all 63,
thank you.
63 of the national parks. That right there is just
I'm just happy I did it before they added a 64th or 65th somewhere randomly in a, pick something random and say we're gonna make this the national park now. And I gotta go travel to that one. But thank you. Thank
okay. I mean, hey, what's one more? You done already
you.
accomplished
No,
63 of
I'm
them.
done. Game over. No more.
No, never done. Never done. All
Yeah.
right. So you have this camera, you are
Mhm.
at Badlands, and then going forward, because your photos, I mean, how did you just keep improving? Or, I mean, what was your secret?
So the first time I used it, like I said, it was all in auto mode, and that was in 2016, right? So I didn't really get into learning how to use the camera until the next year. Actually, I just kind of stayed in safe mode with the auto stuff.
Okay.
I guess I'd have to look at the parks that I visited later in 2016 to remember how that flowed, but I didn't get serious about it until 2017. So I
And
think,
why?
say again?
Why did you get serious in 2017? What was it that
You
just,
know what? I wish I knew what park it was, or maybe there was something that I was trying to shoot. I think in the beginning with the photography journey, right? Like when I was trying to get a little bit more serious about it, I was shooting everything. It wasn't even like I was focusing on the stuff that I really got the camera for. You know what I mean? So I know I did a lot of shooting in the New York City area, pretty close to that area. So I did some shooting there. And some of the stuff that I had seen that kind of inspired me at the time to shoot more, I had to learn a little bit more about the camera. A lot of the stuff that I like to do was related to long exposure. Um, so you got to learn how to use your camera. And, oh, you know what? Okay, now it's coming back. Now I know. Yeah, now I know why I had to learn. I think one of the parks that I went to after that was Capitol Reef.
okay.
Yes, all right, it's coming back to me. So I went to Capitol Reef, and there was a water flowing shot. They don't have any waterfalls in Capitol Reef, to my knowledge, right? But there was a river with flowing water, and I know that I had seen pictures of smooth water and stuff like that. I said, I'm gonna get this, right? Get this, and all I got was a blown out image, right? Nothing but white.
Right.
So, then you have to learn a little bit more about exposure and shutter speed and all that stuff. And even when you know that, then you have to learn that in some instances, you got to put something called a neutral density filter on something to even make it possible. So that required me to learn a little bit more about it. That's what it was that made me get a little bit more serious. And then when I didn't have access to some of those places that were a little bit further away from me, when I was in that New York City area, then some of that stuff had to be applied. That's it. Glad you asked me that question because I forgot how we got there.
Not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so with you learning more and studying your camera and testing out and kind of like trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
what was the most challenging part of photography for you as you have, like evolved in this genre? What's
Learning what was possible and what was not possible and what was manufactured, that was the hardest part. Learning certain shots, very early in photography, you probably are getting a lot of inspiration from others. Okay, so I can't speak to everybody's journey, right? But for me, to prove to myself that I learned the concept, I would take somebody else's picture and then try to make my picture look just like that
okay?
one. Okay. There were some instances where you might see a composition. You're not trying to copy that artist's work or anything like that, but you're just trying to recreate it. There were certain times, especially in the New York City area, where I would see something that I wanted to go shoot and realize that that wasn't possible either because of an access issue or maybe because whatever that person did, it was engineered, so to speak. That was the hardest part of the early journey. I think you're asking about those early years, right? Yeah, that
Hmm.
was the hardest part of learning what's possible. Once you learn what's possible and what's not possible, then things became easier, not easy, but easier.
Yeah, let's talk about easier.
Mm-hmm.
With you hitting all of the national parks, and
Mm-hmm.
including the ones in Hawaii, there's a lot of hiking and things involved visiting these national parks. Let's talk about you and hiking and photography. Were you a hiker before?
This all didn't start until 20. All right, so the national park thing started 20, probably around 2012 or 2013. I think that was my first visit to Rocky Mountain National Park. That's what started all of this stuff. Um, I went to Rocky Mountain National Park, and Rocky Mountain National Park kind of just blew me away, right? From a kid that grew up in the city, it was completely opposite of anything that I was used to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I always remember the old Coors Light commercials with the Tap the Rockies, Mountain Cat. Oh, I want to go see the Snow Cap Mountain. So that got me into it. And then there was an app on the iPhone's National Geographic National Parks. And it highlighted some of the national parks. And I decided, all right, I'm going to go see all of the national parks. Okay.
Okay.
But the way I visited Rocky Mountain National Park in the beginning was just to drive through, get out, look at a scenic, pull out, take a picture with the iPhone at the time. It's before photography, right? And then, okay, I counted that park as a visit. Okay, so I'm going to visit all at the time. It was 59 national parks. Let me get to all of them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the second park that I went to was, I think it was Yosemite. Drove 3 hours or 4 hours from San Fran, went to Yosemite, stayed there for 2 hours, and then left. But that counted as a national park visit. Okay, drove around, took some pictures.
Heck,
That's
it
it.
takes you an hour just to get from the gate to the valley.
I didn't say it was a smart decision, but that's just how it went down, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to see it. Okay, what national park is here that I can get to when I'm out of town for work? So I went to Yosemite. So far I had two parks that I went to that
Uh-huh.
I was able to just drive through and check them off as seeing the park. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And then I went to Shenandoah in Virginia and drove around Skyline Drive and didn't quite understand why I didn't see anything, right? Because you drive around Skyline Drive, you got a couple of scenic pullouts, but it's not, this part's up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you learn that you have to kind of hike around and get into these parks. And then that's when I decided, all right, in order for a park to now be considered completed, I got to do some kind of hiking there. And they started small, pretty pedestrian, and then they just started to get a little crazier.
Okay, so the start, the pedestrian one. How did you prepare yourself for the first one?
Oh, okay. So
Well,
technically, all
no,
right. So
tell me
not,
you didn't have on flip-flops though.
nah, not that crazy. Oh, flip flops. No, who would do something like that? If you're gonna hike as a beginner, you're obviously gonna wear some Air Force Ones. That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, the Air Force Ones. Okay.
No, I think so I think my first real hike wasn't even in a national park. It was in Oahu. I did Coco Crater.
Oh, I mean, okay.
Yeah. I did Coco Crater. That but Coco Crater, if anybody doesn't know anything about it, is you hike up um up the side of a old, what do they call it? A volcanic cone or something like that.
Mhm.
And there's like some tracks up there where they used to haul equipment up and down Coco
Okay.
Crater. It's steep, it's challenging, but you
And
don't
that
need
was
any real.
your first hike.
That was the first one, yeah. But Coco Crater, I mean, look, it's strenuous. Don't get me wrong, right? Especially if you haven't done any of that stuff before. But
Right.
you don't need any special equipment. You can go up there in sneakers. It'd be better to have some hiking boots, I think, in my opinion. But you can go up there in sneakers. So that was the first one I did, and it wasn't any significant distance. But that kind of got me into it. Okay, all right, so this is cool. You do something, you finish it. There's a sense of accomplishment. You feel good about it. My next real hike in a national park, if I'm not mistaken, was 2018, and I went from hiking Coco Crater to Half Dome in Yosemite. Yeah. So wasn't prepared. I made it. I survived. You know, one of those, but did you die? Right. But so that was not the buildup that you probably should have had. But
I mean, if you gonna go big, go ahead.
yeah, one of the dumbest decisions I ever made. But you learn, you live and learn, right?
Now, with you visiting the national parks, loving photography, or wanting to capture the beauty of the national parks through your photography and hiking,
Mm-hmm.
okay, how did you get to the point that you are today? Like, you have light trails, you're up on mountaintops, you're up on top of Yosemite. What is this today, Corey, saying to yesterday's Corey? Like what? Like, oh, be prepared that you're gonna need to do X, Y, and Z. You're gonna need to buy X, Y, and Z. What would you give that advice to your yesterday self, knowing what you're doing now?
Well, that's a good question.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. Sometimes they come out.
that's a good one. I don't think I did anything ridiculously wrong in the beginning where it's like, all right, young man, you should have done it this way better. I've tried to enjoy it as I've gone along. I've tried to every time I went somewhere, take some time and look at whatever you're supposed to be looking at away from looking at it through glass. I've done pretty good about not making anything too much about getting a shot. And if you can't get the shot, then you didn't enjoy the journey.
Mm.
So without some more time to think about that one, I don't think I have anything that's going to be like this watershed moment, like the light bulb went off and boom, everything made sense. No, I think I did it pretty good for the most part. It was chill. I don't know if I have any crazy. If I had to tell younger Corey something, I would tell him not to go up and do half dome in and out in a day with a brand new set of boots that you're just breaking in and
Ooh.
taking 2.5 liters of water only and taking far more clothes and that kind of stuff, of course. But I mean, other than that, I think I did it quite decent.
How were
Yeah,
your feet feeling when that was done?
that's the craziest descent. That's the craziest night. I remember I got down at the bottom, got in the car, drove all the way back from Yosemite to Oakhurst, California. I think that's where my hotel was. I stopped at a Burger King. I never forget the meal. I got a large original chicken sandwich meal with a Whopper Jr. And I laid in that hotel and I'm eating the food. And I know I woke up an hour later with a fry in my mouth with the French fries. Yeah, I was tired. I've never been that tired before. So, yeah, I mean, outside of that, I don't think there's any, like I said, any watershed aha moment. It's been pretty chill the whole time. Yeah.
Now, what type of photography would you or photographer would you consider yourself to be?
You mean genre?
Uh-huh.
Landscape, I would like to say landscape, but I kind of dabble in a lot of different things. I like long exposure. I get into some aviation photography every so often. I'm mostly if I'm wherever I am, if I'm doing something, I got the camera, and if I see something that catches my eye, I just want to make sure that I capture it good. But by heart, I'm a landscape photographer. I think I started with intentions on being a landscape photographer, but I did more cityscape kind of stuff simply because I was like my proving ground, so to speak, to make sure that I could prove that I could get certain shots. But at heart, I'm a landscape photographer. Yeah.
Now, are you a planner or do you just go with
Sometimes
the flow when you're out?
if I do plan, but I think I end up being more go with the flow more than anything else. Every so often I get creative. I don't think you can be creative without a plan when you're going with the flow, but the times that I really get creative, okay, I'm going to plan this. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do this for the shot. I think they are less common than just, okay, I'm going to go to this destination
Mm-hmm.
and let's see what I get. I don't necessarily always aim for what everybody considers to be the best times to shoot. Sometimes I'm too damn tired to do that. That's that getting a little older life, right? Yeah, sunrise is cool. Yeah, doing it at night is cool, but sometimes I'm too tired for that nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I get when I'm there, sometimes there's no shot, sometimes there is. Sometimes you think you're gonna have good weather, sometimes you thought, well, good weather is subjective, right? But sometimes you think you're going to have certain conditions, and then all of a sudden it becomes moody, and now you have more creativity than you had before. So some of it is flying by the seat of the pants, but every so often I get creative and plan and do that kind of stuff. Yeah,
How has photography contributed to the man that you are today?
patience, patience, uh, observing more of your surroundings, seeing
Mhm.
more. You definitely see more. That's for sure. You see things that you never saw before. Yeah. A little bit
Okay.
more observant, a little bit more patient, I think.
Who or what motivates you?
The world.
Oh,
Yeah. This is all, like I said, this is all inspired by trying to capture what you see, right?
right.
So I don't I don't rely on external inspiration.
Okay. So it's not like, let's say you're
Mhm.
sitting in an airport lounge and there's a
Okay.
travel and leisure magazine, right?
Okay, okay, but that's inspiration. That's inspiration
Right.
from something
True.
that you see in the world. Like I know okay, so I can't remember what year it was, but I was on a summer vacation somewhere, and I decided that I was gonna pick next summer's travel from the airlines magazine. Yeah, I was gonna
Okay.
pick next summer's travel from the airlines magazine, and it was gonna be random. Like wherever I open it up, if it looks good, I'm going. Now, obviously, like if I would have opened it up and it would have been a destination that I had no interest in, that I wasn't gonna go. But I opened it up, and it was Greece. It
Hmm.
was a place in Greece that I never heard before. Everybody hears the Santorini and Athens and all these different places, but it was a place called Crete. Crete, Crete.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was next year's destination. And then I did the same thing when I got on the airplane to leave. Okay, but now it was like, all right, since I like Greece so much, where next in Greece? And then the next year was going to be Zakynthos. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then the next, so that's how I kind of did it from the airport or airline magazines. But the inspiration lies in the world more than anything else. Um, yeah.
Okay.
So there's not really a who. And let me put some context to that, because I know some people are going to be listening like, well, he didn't have this photographer that inspired all of his.
No, everyone does not have a photographer that
Yeah,
inspires.
for sure. I don't think I didn't aspire to be a photographer. I wasn't looking at somebody's work and saying I want to re-engineer this particular person's work. It was really if I saw something that I wanted to learn to shoot, that might have been the early inspiration. But ultimately, it's the world. But there's plenty of people whose work I admire, sure. But
Mm-hmm.
the inspiration comes from just wanting to see something in the world. And then when I'm there, you obviously want to take that moment back and be able to look at it later on as you saw it, or in some cases, maybe you want to create a scene as you think it should be, like a light trail. You know what I mean? So
Now, what is it about the light trails that, because again, on your page, you have some crazy cool light
thank
trails.
you. They cool. Yeah.
That
And
look
that's
right
that's
there
not
just
something
said it
that
all.
it's something that I didn't come up with that idea on my own, right? I wasn't okay. I just learned long exposure to waterfalls. Oh, I'm gonna make lectures. I saw it somewhere. I wish I could credit the person who I might have seen it on Instagram. Like, oh, that's the first time I saw that, but I saw it, and it was a challenge to learn the technique to make it look like that. And then I started thinking about the planning that comes in with it. Okay, well, how long does it take the car to go from this point of the frame to the other one? Okay, how's this gonna look good? It's just it was a problem to solve. And then as you're driving along, you might see something. I think this would look over the light trail. So it was the challenge part of it. Yeah.
What would you say has been the most challenging photography goal that you or a place that you have visited? It's like you had in your mind to go X, Y, and Z or wherever, and you thought it was going to be such and such, but it turned out to be like, oh my gosh,
You mean a
outside of
shot or place?
Yosemite,
A
hmm?
shot or a place?
The shot that you wanted.
Oh, that's easy. If you'd
Oh,
asked me this question a month and a half ago, I'd have told you something different. But this damn getting a plane centered into the moon is yeah, there is nothing more challenging than that shot. Yeah. That is challenging. Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
scouting, that's timing, that's weather.
It's and I don't have very much that I can control with that.
Exactly.
You can get set up for more success with some scouting, and the okay, so I'm in San Francisco,
Okay.
and by San Francisco International Airport, I had everything all set up. I got there early. I knew exactly where the moon was going to be by
Hmm.
using this app that I use called the Photographer's Ephemeris TPE. I don't know. I might
Yeah,
not
I know
pronounce
what
it
you
yet.
mean. Yeah.
Okay. So I used the augmented reality thing to find out where the moon would be at a certain point. And I knew that the planes were going to be doing that approach for the weather that was going to be for the rest. Okay, I'm going to get this. I got it. Got it. And it didn't go down. Okay, the way that I wanted it to. It didn't go down the way that I wanted to because of something that I misunderstood with the app. But I had a backup plan. The backup plan was to go a little bit further south east. And I had another shot a little bit later on as the moon got a little higher. So I raced over from San Fran International to get to this backup spot. And I didn't change any settings. I just kind of put the camera on the seat because the settings that I had were the settings that I was going to need. And somehow, some way, when I put it onto the seat, it changed something and I didn't know about it. One of the knobs has shifted, okay? So I'm in the car and I'm looking at the app that I use to determine whether or not the plane is gonna get to a certain point, okay? And I see one that looks promising, right? I look up at the moon and I see the plane coming. Oh, this is about to going down right here,
Mhm.
right? I grab the camera, I go up, I fire. Brrr, went right center cut through the moon. Got it, Angela. Damn it, I got it.
Oh,
With an ISO that shifted all the way to 128,000. Yeah.
oh no.
Center
What
cut,
did you
right?
do?
Those
How
weren't
long
really
did you
tears,
cry?
right? Not long. Yeah, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I got it. Why does it look like sandpaper? And then I
Oh,
realized it was, yeah, ISO 1000. So that has been the hardest time. I eventually did get the shot. I'm still looking for a specific shot that I really want, like a specific plane going through the moon, and I'll get it eventually. But the journey to get there is not easy. That is by far the hardest shot I've ever had to get. There's nothing that even comes close. I thought I had something that was close. There's nothing that comes close to that.
now with you saying that, a lot of people will say, it's the camera that makes the shot. It's the photographer that makes the shot, or it's both. What do you say?
Yeah, everybody's in this exclusive. Is this or that? I think it's got to be both, right? It has to be both.
Why?
Because I can see something that I would like to capture, but I can't capture it without the tool. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question. Yeah,
No, no, no. You understand it perfectly. Yeah.
you need the tool to do that. And then well, everybody's got a different vision. So when they say the photographer's vision, I don't know. My vision is not better than somebody else's.
Okay.
But ultimately, whatever vision a photographer has, if they want to capture it, they're going to need the tool. So it's both of them. I think you maybe to reword. I think I know what you're trying to ask. Which is more important for the type of shot you get? Is that what you?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go with
In
that one.
that case, it's the vision. It's the vision because ultimately you can take a really good shot with an iPhone. It might not be the same fidelity, the same quality. You can't possibly have the same focal length options that you have with an iPhone. You're not going to have 800 millimeters with an iPhone or any smartphone. It sounds like I'm plugging Apple or something like that, right? But you can still get a representative shot with the tool that you have in your hands, but to execute a certain, yeah, it's
Okay.
vision,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. If
And
money
then
was no,
sometimes your vision will dictate the type of equipment that you need. Not every vision requires fancy equipment. So yeah,
right, that's true.
yeah, yeah. I feel like I just answered the question two different ways, but
Hey, that's fine. And who
yeah,
people will get it.
yeah.
Everybody will get the message the way that they're supposed to get the message or interpret it.
I hope so.
If money was no object, where are you going photography wise?
Money's not an object. How about that?
Oh,
I'm
oh,
kidding. No,
okay, cousin.
no, 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 no.
When the family
No.
reunion,
So
let me come on over there, cousin.
get over here, girl. Time is a bigger problem than money. So for if I reword the question, if time were no object,
Okay.
um, where would I like to go? Antarctica.
Well, all right.
Antarctica. Yeah, because there is a money component with that. When you look at it, you really want to see that final seventh continent. That's the last one that I have, but they make it so ridiculously expensive and unachievable for so many people that yeah, if money were no object, then there would be Antarctica. Yes, I can drop the amount of money that they're asking, but I would do that, and I don't think that it would be worth my while to do that. No, I'm not going to be happy paying $25,000 to spend whatever amount. No, so that would be the one place for sure.
Yeah, I was in a conversation with someone. We were talking about Antarctica, and I was like, "The Drake's Passage." I was like, "How long?"
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I gotta pay all this money and be sick for a while. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like a lot of my travel, I don't like to be in a destination for too long.
hmm
And with those type of excursions, the way they advertise it, you got to be gone 10, 11. I'm not beat for that. I'm not. I'm just, yeah, at a certain point, I'm going to want to leave. There's some places where, I've been on certain work assignments for a long amount of time.
hmm
Oahu's one of them. Yeah, keep me there for a little while. It's a little different though. Just on a boat thing for a little while. Nah,
Ooh, yeah, that's.
stay that for
Ooh.
Gilligan. I'm just,
Oh,
yeah,
did you say Gilligan? He
I
said
did.
Gilligan, y'all. He said Gilligan.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the one thing that you must have in your camera bag other than gear?
Oh, Scooby snacks.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
I was not.
Oh
I
yeah.
wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
He said Scooby snacks.
You need some kind of
Hey,
Scooby snacks. Yeah. Flashlight. Flashlight. Yeah.
Scooby snacks and the flashlight or the
You need,
Scooby
yeah,
snack?
because if you get down to it and you out there for a little while, you definitely gonna appreciate them Scoobies.
All right.
The flashlight is a big one. You never know what's gonna happen, so try to be prepared just in case something happens and you're not where you should be. You want to have some light, flashlight.
Yeah, definitely. I've had those
Mm.
situations.
Oh
Well,
yeah? Oh no, I know this is my interview. Come on, give me what happened. Give me
I,
one. Come on.
my batteries died. I was out. It was Mount Baldy. So it was at
Okay.
10,000 feet elevation. Did it solo, was taking photos, had my camera, had a charger, and I got caught having to get back to the car and stuff was dying. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, this is this ain't fun, but we're gonna make it fun. So I'm walking and I went off trail because I kind of
Ah.
had the route downloaded. I went off trail so I can make it shorter to get to the car. And I'm like,
Mhm.
anything out here? Look, we just gonna have to make it work. So
You
yeah,
got something.
I
Yeah, I got you. A
yeah,
light is important for sure.
exactly. For someone who is just getting into photography,
Hmm.
what advice would you give them?
Learn your camera. Yeah, learn your camera. Stop focused. Yeah, I mean this. Read your book. Learn where the buttons are. Learn what's on your menu. Learn the capabilities of your camera from the most basic aspect before you start going crazy with it. You have to know where the controls are in order to activate them. Learn all that stuff. Learn what M means. Learn what auto means. Learn what shutter priority means. Learn all that stuff. I mean, learn the photography triangle, right? But your book will give you some basic stuff on that. But learn your camera. And then after you learn your camera, maybe concurrently or whatever, you want to learn that photography triangle. If you're really serious about it, you got to learn the photography triangle. Somebody,
Absolutely.
yeah, either I saw it on YouTube or I read it somewhere. I don't know where I saw this, but they related the triangle to the human eye,
Hmm.
and it is the easiest. It is the easiest thing to keep everything and make it stick. So even when I teach people a little bit about photography, I use that same analogy with the eye, and that seems to make the light bulb go off. But learn the camera first. Learn the camera.
Okay. And since you're also an avid hiker, for
Hmm.
someone who is getting into, let's say they want to do landscape photography and they want to hike mountains and get into this out of the city, what advice would you give them to get started?
Don't be scared. Seriously, don't be scared. I think I told you that story earlier about Shenandoah. So once I was like, okay, you got to get off the road and you got to get on the trails. Let's get it. Oh wait, what do you mean? What's a black bear? What? you know? Oh, the big bad bears, they're looking for me. They're gonna eat me. They're prowling. They're looking, looking around all the trees looking for it. So learn about what the concerns are, educate yourself, and then once you're educated, sometimes that'll get rid of the fears that a lot of us, right, have that prevent us from doing some of these things. Yo, you do that? crazy for going out there. You know what I mean? So yeah, just try to get rid of the fear with education.
That right there. I hear it a lot being a woman.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Whatever.
Hmm. It's listen, given some of our history, some of it is understandable, some of it, right? But yeah, educate yourself and don't allow yourself to miss out on those opportunities. That's legit. As far as getting out into the outdoor space, educate yourself about the things that are of a concern, and then you can make a better, more educated decision as to whether or not that's for you or not.
That right there. Before we close out this interview, is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers?
Just do it. Just go. Take that trip. Whether it's solo, whether it's with other people, whatever. Just do it while you're able-bodied. Do it. Yeah, don't wait. If you can, don't wait. Just go out and do it. You'd be surprised what the world has got out
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Corey,
Thank
again
you.
for being available to do this interview. And
Appreciate you.
viewers, be sure we're going to put Corey's information in the comments so you will be able to follow him on Instagram, see his work if you aren't already following him. And be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. This really helps to push the video so that people such as yourself and others that are getting started will be able to see this on their pop up in their YouTube. So again, thank you all and thank you, Corey.
Appreciate you, Angela.
I appreciate you.